Universal Studios is undoubtedly making waves in the theme park industry. With Epic Universe nearing its opening, the excitement surrounding it feels reminiscent of what longtime Universal fans experienced leading up to the debut of Islands of Adventure. However, with the scale and ambition of Epic Universe, there seems to be even more anticipation this time around as Universal prepares to deliver an entirely new era of immersive entertainment. Even today, Islands of Adventure remains a massive hit, offering its iconic themed lands, a concept that will also define Epic Universe. Yet, not all lands have been equally cherished, and nowhere is this more evident than with the Lost Continent. Over the years, Universal has gradually chipped away at this once grand area, and it seems likely that, in time, the Lost Continent will fade into nothing more than a memory. And with the closure of Poseidon's Fury last year, I thought it was important to explore the history of the Lost Continent, examine its current state, and reflect on how we got here. Just a quick favor, if you enjoy the content and would like to support the channel, then leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. With that being said, let's dive into the slow death of the Lost Continent. The Lost Continent opened as part of Universal's Islands of Adventure in 1999, serving as the only original IP-themed land created exclusively for the park. However, there are rumors surrounding how the Lost Continent came to be, and to better understand these rumors, we need to look at the Walt Disney Company. See, in 1996, Michael Eisner, the then CEO of Disney, was spearheading the development of a new park featuring both live animals and attractions, named Animal Kingdom. This ambitious project didn't just focus on real-world animals, but would aim to showcase animals from the past and of fantasy. During construction, however, Disney faced budget constraints, forcing Eisner to choose between two key lands, these being Dinoland USA, which would be themed to dinosaurs, and Beastly Kingdom, an area themed around mythical creatures such as unicorns, dragons, and more. Eisner opted for the more cost-effective Dinoland, with plans to introduce Beastly Kingdom at a later date, a plan that ultimately never came to fruition. Beastly Kingdom would be shelved, especially after the fact that Camp Minnie Mickey took the place of where Beastly Kingdom would stand. A number of Disney Imagineers would leave the company, with some going on to work for Universal. The rumor here is that the former Imagineers that worked on Beastly Kingdom were the ones who created the Lost Continent. While there's no concrete evidence to confirm that these individuals directly contributed to the Lost Continent, the possibility cannot be entirely dismissed. Regardless of its origins, the Lost Continent emerged as a land with three distinct sections: Merlinwood, Arabian Marketplace, and the Lost City. Each area offered its own unique attractions and experiences, so let's look into these areas and see what they once were like. Merlinwood was one of the three distinct areas within the Lost Continent, drawing inspiration from Arthurian legend. This section stood out as the only part of the Lost Continent to feature two attractions: Flying Unicorn, a family-friendly junior coaster, and Dueling Dragons, a thrilling coaster experience where two intertwined tracks raced simultaneously. In addition to its attractions, Merlinwood also housed a dining location known as the Enchanted Oak Tavern. What set this area apart was how it weaved its storytelling into both its attractions and dining experience, something Universal hadn't really done much of at the time. If we look at the Enchanted Oak Tavern, we can see that it wasn't just a visually striking structure that resembled Merlin, but if we look deeper into the background, we can actually find out that it was Merlin himself. According to the tale, there was a character by the name of the Lady of the Lake who had enchanted and deceived Merlin, luring him into her waters. Once entered, she transformed him into the great oak tree that now served as the tavern, which really helps set up the section's lore here to establish it further. But it doesn't just stop there, as if we look at Dueling Dragons, we can see the castle, one that was formerly Merlin's, as after Merlin was transformed into the oak tree, it was left vulnerable, and ultimately taken over by two dragons, Pyrock and Blizzrock. According to the lore, these two were rival warlocks who, upon hearing of Merlin's fate, travel to his domain in search of his legendary spellbook. However, Merlin had protected the book with a powerful curse, and when the warlocks found it, they were transformed into dragons of fire and ice, now cursed as Pyrock and Blizzrock. They terrorized the castle, killing any knights inside, and turning the once regal structure into rubble over time. All of this can be seen as you make your way through the queue, as within it you can see Merlin's spellbook, as well as the fate of the knights that were within the castle, as many are melted into the walls, some with text written out near them, and others are frozen to the ceiling. As you make your way further into the queue, there's even a wooden door that sounds like one of the dragons is about to burst through. Finally, we have the story of the Flying Unicorn. The story behind this attraction was that it was created by an unidentified wizard who used the shed horn of a baby unicorn and created a flying cart system that resembled one, which they parked at a cottage and stables-like building. Merlinwood was undoubtedly an intriguing and unique land offered by Universal, presenting a fresh take on Arthurian legend, a theme rarely explored in theme parks. It was interesting to see the Universal creative team's unique twist on this legend. Sadly though, Merlinwood is now a thing of the past, having been replaced by the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. While the Wizarding World is an extraordinary land in its own right, it's bittersweet to witness the original concept erased. The transformation was evident when Dueling Dragons became Dragon Challenge, and the Flying Unicorn was converted into Flight of the Hippogriff. While these reimagined rides were well integrated into the Wizarding World and offered longtime fans of that franchise a lot to enjoy, there were notable drawbacks. Most significantly, the dueling aspect of Dueling Dragons was turned off in 2011 due to safety concerns as loose objects from guests caused reoccurring issues. Although the decision was understandable, it marked the end of a thrilling feature that made the original ride so special. Ultimately, in September of 2017, the attraction closed entirely to make way for a new coaster, Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. Quite a mouthful. This successor, though, has proven to be a fantastic addition, blending thrilling elements with exceptional storytelling. With this all said about Merlinwood, that brings us to the next section of the Lost Continent, the Arabian Marketplace. Making our way into the Arabian Marketplace, or also called Sinbad's Bazaar, this portion of the Lost Continent would feature one attraction, the Eighth Voyage of Sinbad, a stunt show that blended live-action storytelling with impressive pyrotechnics and acrobatics. Beyond the stunt show, the area offered a dining option known as Doc Sugru's Dessert Kebab House, along with several unique shopping experiences such as mythical medals and Shop of Wonders. The area even included a shop called Star Souls, where guests could enjoy psychic readings and henna tattoos. In front of the theater for the Eighth Voyage of Sinbad stood the Mystic Fountain, a talking fountain that interacted with guests, even spraying them with water. While there wasn't as much storytelling in this section as there was in Merlinwood, the theming of the area still offered fantastic immersion for guests within the marketplace atmosphere. The story behind the attraction centered around Sinbad and his sidekick Kebab on a quest to rescue Princess Amora from the evil witch Miseria. For those unfamiliar, Sinbad is a hero from Middle Eastern folklore. Beyond this attraction, the area didn't feature much storytelling. However, as of September of 2018, the Eighth Voyage of Sinbad is no longer in operation. While it may not seem like a major loss to many parkgoers, it left the Arabian Marketplace feeling barren, offering little reason for guests to stop other than dining or shopping. While the area isn't entirely gone, it certainly feels abandoned without its main attraction. With Merlinwood completely gone and the Arabian Marketplace now feeling empty, it seems inevitable that Universal will eventually transform the Lost Continent into something entirely new. With that being said, we make our way into the last section, the Lost City. Moving into our final section, we have the Lost City, which is based entirely on Greek mythology and is the smallest of the three sections, as it only features one major attraction, Poseidon's Fury, one sit-down restaurant, Mythos, and a store named the Pearl Factory. Now, technically, it also includes a quick service restaurant, Fire Eater's Grill, but that's located within the Arabian Marketplace, just closer to the entrance of the Lost City. Because of this, I feel it's a bit odd to group it with the Lost City section, as that truly consists of Mythos, the Pearl Factory, and Poseidon's Fury. Before diving into the attraction itself, I want to touch on the Lost City's theming. If we enter from the Zeus Landing area, you'll be greeted by a griffin statue. If you make a left shortly after passing the statue towards the back of Mythos, you'll notice a grotto area filled with very neat details. For instance, when crossing the bridge, you'll hear a troll underneath making noises. Further along, you'll encounter a fantastic view of the park, as well as a statue of Atlas holding up the Mythos restaurant. To many guests, this may just seem like an impressive statue, but for those familiar with Greek mythology, it's much more interesting. In fact, there are tons of nods to other Greek mythological figures on the Mythos restaurant. While I won't delve into the backgrounds of these figures represented here so deeply, I will highlight those featured on the restaurant's exterior and discuss what they're known for. Atlas, as you may or may not know, isn't a god but a titan punished by Zeus to hold the world on his shoulders for all eternity. If we look at the top of the Mythos restaurant, we can see a face carved into the rock with a waterfall flowing out of it. This is the face of Zeus, who is probably one of the most well-known figures in Greek mythology, as he is the king of the gods and the god of the sky, thunder, and lightning. Below Zeus, there's another face carved into the structure, one that many might not recognize, that being Narcissus. Narcissus was the son of the river god Cephissus, and in his myth fell in love with his own reflection he saw in a pool of water while hunting, ultimately becoming obsessed with himself and his own image. If you look down into the pool of water, you can actually see the face of Narcissus reflecting back at the one on the Mythos restaurant. Finally, we come to the attraction for this section of the Lost Continent, Poseidon's Fury. Before going inside, I just want to say that the facade of this attraction has always mesmerized me and left me in awe. I feel it's one of the most impressive looking attractions, at least from its exterior, and I love the concept of a temple that's in shambles and barely standing, with remnants of a colossal statue of Poseidon scattered about. You can see his trident being held by his arm, his foot, and his smashed face lying in the water, all creating this sense of awe and mystery. Unlike the other attractions in this land, Poseidon's Fury offers a comprehensive story to follow, and it was considered, at least at one time, the e-ticket attraction for the Lost Continent. Before diving into the details of Poseidon's Fury, no pun intended, I want to address the changes in its storyline, as when discussing this attraction in detail, I'll be focusing on the version that was available before its closure. Poseidon's Fury was a fascinating attraction that underwent 2 story iterations during its time at Islands of Adventure. The final version is more well-known, but the original story, introduced when the park opened in 1999, offered something different and something that you wouldn't typically expect from Universal. In 1999, guests entered the attraction building representing the lost city of Atlantis, where they met a bearded man known only as the Keeper. The Keeper laid out the story, explaining how Poseidon had been cast away with the rest of the Titans by Zeus and vowed to return with a sea army to one day defeat him. After sharing this tale, a sea nymph provides guests access to the temple, allowing them to venture further into Atlantis. Guests pass through the infamous water vortex and enter the next chamber, where Atlantis is revealed to the Keeper and guest. In this space, the Keeper interacts with mermaids and admires the city, with sea animals visible on the surrounding screens. The piece is broken when Poseidon appears to confront the Keeper, who then reveals himself to be Zeus in disguise. This led to a battle between the two gods, culminating in Zeus blasting Poseidon into the city of Atlantis, triggering its destruction. As the city crumbled and the room filled with water and fire, the scene went dark and guests found themselves back in front of a sealed door before exiting the attraction. As a longtime fan of Universal, I'm sad to say I never got to experience the original version of this attraction, and I wish I had, as it seems much better than the newer iteration that followed it. The story felt much more fitting in my opinion, and cohesive, and I really liked the more mysterious and dark aspects of this version, as well as making Poseidon the antagonist, as it felt refreshing compared to the usual gods are always the good guys trope. I think if Universal stuck with this storyline, rather than the new one, then Poseidon's fury may have been looked at in a different light. But that version would be replaced entirely with a revised story focusing on a conflict between Poseidon and Lord Darkanon in 2001. This new narrative is led by a guide named Taylor, who takes guests through the experience after the original leader, Professor Baxter, fails to show up. Taylor is part of an archaeological group called the Global Discovery Group, and shares that he's simply a volunteer. In the first chamber, Taylor will explain the news story, how Poseidon was betrayed by his high priest, Lord Darkanon, which led to the sealing of Atlantis. As Taylor is sharing the story, the lights suddenly cut out. Using a flashlight, Taylor reads a riddle along the wall. When the lights return, Professor Baxter urgently contacts Taylor, warning him and the guests to exit the temple immediately.
There he is.
Is anyone there?
Yeah, Professor Baxter. It's me, Taylor. I've been looking all over the place for you. I started your tour.
Taylor, what are you doing in there? I ordered everyone out.
No, sir. I was looking for you. Nobody told me about out.
Get them out.
Yes, sir.
Now.
Guys,
However, the lights cut out again, and this time, Taylor is contacted by Lord Darkanon. He opens the temple, allowing Taylor and the guests to venture further inside. In the next chamber, Taylor and the guests find themselves surrounded by various artifacts. While they are distracted, Darkanon seals the doors, trapping them inside. He declares that they will never leave unless they find Poseidon's trident. As Darkanon continues his monologue, Taylor discovers the trident embedded in the ground. When he retrieves it, a goddess guardian of the temple appears and speaks to Taylor. She asks him to make a wish, to which he wishes for himself and the guests to be free. But the goddess explains that his wish is impossible. However, she does offer them deeper passage into the temple, now revealing the water vortex tunnel. Taylor and the guests proceed through the vortex to yet another chamber, where Taylor stands before a door. Here, Poseidon speaks to Taylor, asking him to return the trident. Before Taylor can act, Lord Darkanon interrupts, causing a bright flash of light and plunging the room in the darkness. When the lights return, the group finds themselves in the same arena from the previous iteration of this attraction. Taylor rushes a statue of Poseidon to return the trident, as Darkanon attempts to stop him. Once the trident is restored, the statue surges with electricity before revealing Poseidon, who now appears on the screens alongside Darkanon. A battle ensues between the two, ultimately ending in Poseidon winning, and as the guests witness Atlantis crumble around them, Poseidon promises them safe passage out. Much like in the original version, the room fades to black and relights, revealing the now closed door from before. Guests then make their exit from the attraction. This version is of course the most memorable for me, considering it's the only one I've ridden, and although I'm not a fan of its story, I have to say that I thoroughly enjoy it when parks allow team members to play in-character roles for guests. It makes the experience more unique and memorable, as well as can encourage guests to return to the attraction if done correctly. Overall, I feel that the idea of making Poseidon battle the character Lord Darkanon really gives off the superhero vibes, returning to that trope of the gods being the good guys. That said, I still think the water and fire effects were fantastic in both versions, with very little change between them. It's been sad to see the Lost Continent slowly chipped away at, swallowed up by the Wizarding World in its painful decline, until it's fully replaced. If you visit the Lost Continent today, there's practically nothing left. All of its attractions have either been closed down, replaced entirely, or renamed, leaving the area with just a few shops, the Mystic Fountain, and some dining experiences like Mythos. Now, I will say that while the Lost Continent wasn't the best in terms of its attractions, more specifically the later iteration of Poseidon's Fury, which felt very cheesy and carried that unmistakable 90s vibe, I think that's what made it so special. The Lost Continent felt like it was a time capsule, preserving an era you can't find in theme parks anymore, similar to E.T. Adventure, or a better example, Disney's water parks. The Lost Continent was unique in its own way, considering the fact that it was an IP created specifically for the park, rather than being tied to an existing Universal franchise. This made it exciting, ripe for exploration, inviting guests to uncover small details throughout the land. So, at the end of the day, regardless, it's sad to see it go. That said, Even though I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan, I thoroughly enjoy the Wizarding World and everything it has to offer. I feel that Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure is a great successor to Dueling Dragons. Still, I believe that if Universal had worked a little harder to revitalize the Lost Continent in some way, it could be in a stronger position than it is now. Finally, there are rumors that Universal plans to replace the Lost Continent section with The Legend of Zelda, potentially building an attraction centered around Ocarina of Time to replace Poseidon's Fury. If this turns out to be true, I'm excited to see what Universal can deliver, considering what they've accomplished with Nintendo-themed lands in Japan and Hollywood, as well as the early glimpses of Epic Universe's Nintendo World. I think The Legend of Zelda would be a fitting addition if done correctly. But for now, we'll just have to see what Universal has planned. Moved away from more screen-based attractions to at least a combination of such, more physical set-piece ones mixed with screens. And I think that's a great idea, or at least better than screen-based, because it does allow creativity to flow within the attraction a bit better. Even though I'm sad to see the Lost Continent entirely shut down, I'm always eager for new attractions and experiences that Universal offers. That said, I truly hope Universal does not give us another Fast and Furious Supercharged, and instead delivers an incredible, worthwhile experience we can all look forward to. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and let me know about your experiences within the Lost Continent in the comments down below. I'll see you guys all in the next video.